Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and today is a solo episode of the podcast where I'm discussing habits. But more specifically, this is really a masterclass on installing and deleting life-changing habits. So let's just jump right in and get after it. Name someone truly great without self-discipline. Freedom requires discipline. Discipline gives us freedom and greatness. Your destiny is there. Will you grab the reins? Discipline has everything to do with our habits. So again, think of someone truly great without self-discipline. I don't think there is anyone. And so you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. That means developing great habits. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments, and that bridge must be crossed every day. Over time, that daily crossing becomes a habit. And ultimately, people do not decide their future, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. We are not the problem. Our approach to change is. It's a design flaw, not a personal flaw. Hear that one more time. We are not the problem. Our approach to change is. It's a design flaw, not a personal flaw, which means we can change the design. If you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you. The problem is your system. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. You do not rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. It's so easy. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making those small improvements on a daily basis. Because improving like 1% isn't particularly noticeable by you or others or anyone. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable or notable, right? But it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. And that's the systems that we're trying to build, right? Because habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be absolutely enormous. It is only when looked back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. And so then you think about willpower. How does willpower play into this? Well, we need willpower. We need to deploy our willpower, and as we talked about, our self-discipline to be able to have and keep and be consistent on these life-changing habits, which boils down to our fundamentals. What are our fundamentals? The fundamentals of being a human being are eating, moving, sleeping, and thinking. And sort of all buckets that we need to do to be our best selves live inside of those 4 domains. Kobe Bryant talked about this all the time in a sports context. You want to be brilliant at the basics. And that remains true for us as humans trying to be the best we can be, whether you're a business person, a mom, a parent, an athlete, a student, whatever it is, we have to be brilliant at the basics. That's how we build the strongest foundation we can have, and then we build up from there. Then we can build our habits that change our life from there. But we have to have self-discipline. We have to have willpower, and that starts with our fundamentals of eating well, moving well, sleeping well, and thinking well. So we can dial in on those 4 things and make it as simple as possible to make these little tiny improvements to change our overall system so our life changes. Remember, it's not a personal flaw, it's a system flaw. And so we're thinking about rearranging and changing the system to boil it down and get you strong on these fundamentals, and then we build from there. And a way you can start thinking about it is you're just going to ask yourselves 3 simple questions. One question, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? And what do I need to continue doing? These are 3 very powerful questions when it comes to thinking about our fundamentals of eating well, moving well, sleeping well, and thinking well. So One thing you want to start doing. What's something you know you've been wanting to try that you know is going to be good for you, right? In regards to these fundamentals, and you're like, okay, I can start doing this. And we're going to get deeper into habits and how to create habits and behavior change and all of that. But I'll say this a lot throughout this episode, is that habits are built too small to fail. Too small to fail. That's from BJ Fogg in his book, Tiny Habits, which we will reference throughout this episode. But thinking of that, of how you want to start something, what's one thing you can start doing that's too small to fail? Then what's something that you're doing great? You're going to the gym, you're walking every day, you're eating well, you're prioritizing your rest. Whatever you're doing that's been good for you in regards to your fundamentals, that's something you need to continue doing, right? A part of behavior change is celebrating those accomplishments as fast as possible. So what do you want to continue doing? What do you want to celebrate doing that you've been doing that you can continue doing, that you can say, that's like me, that's like me, that's like me, and reinforcing that positive behavior. And then last but not least, the number one way to improve your life is to stop doing the things that make you feel like shit. So we want to start doing something, celebrate what we want to continue doing, and then we want to stop doing something. What's, that one thing that's really been holding you back, that's making you feel like shit, but you haven't really given it the full effort to stop doing it? Well, now's the time. We're also going to talk about how to delete bad habits, right? And interchange them with installing good habits. But what is one thing that you want to stop doing? What's one thing that's making you feel like shit? And remember, the number one way to improve your life is to stop doing the things that make you feel like shit. So we have this willpower. We want to deploy our self-discipline. We're basing it on our fundamentals of being brilliant at the basics of eating, moving, sleeping, and thinking well. And then we're asking ourselves these three questions of one thing I want to start doing, one thing I want to continue doing, and one thing I want to stop doing. And that leads us into a discussion about the three disciplines of self-mastery, right? Because it comes down to self-discipline and willpower, and that's how we really are installing and changing the systems on these life-changing habits. And we have three disciplines of self-mastery. One is structural discipline, then we have reactive discipline, and we have expansive discipline. What's structural discipline? Well, who are you at your absolute best? What virtues do you embody? What do you actually do on a daily basis? When we have structural discipline, we dominate that protocol. We recommit to being our best selves in the morning, then we hit our targets all day, every day, right? Really good luck, like seriously, good luck on having a series of really bad days when you do that. Your highs will be higher, your lows will be higher, and you have earned that trust in yourself, which is confidence, to know that you can handle whatever life throws at you. That's structural discipline. That's how you forge this anti-fragile confidence, by executing your protocol via structural discipline, having a strong structure. That's the foundation. That's why you have to be brilliant at the basics. So you have a strong structure. And then the second discipline is reactive discipline. Something triggers you. Can you step in between the stimulus and your normal sort of suboptimal response with the discipline to choose a better response? That's reactive discipline. Remember, we always, maybe not always, but 95% of the time have control over our response. I don't want to say 100 because I don't know. There could be some crazy extenuating circumstances, but whatever. Like majority of the time, you have control over your response. And we have to take power over that. And that's part of our reactive discipline. We have to own and take ownership and full responsibility for the things that are within our control. Our attitude, our effort, our response, the fundamentals, and leaning towards getting really good at this reactive discipline. Then we have expansive discipline. This is both the most important and the hardest of the three disciplines. Every single moment we have a choice. Every single moment we have a choice. Will we step forward into growth or back into safety? If you want to live our most awesome lives and have a shot experiencing like all the amazing things that we're capable of being, when we feel even a little bit of fear, we must consistently choose to expand. To expand forward into growth, expand forward into growth, expand. We need to make that expansion a discipline. That's why it's called expansive discipline, because we're making it a habit to always want to expand and step forward into growth, not back into safety. Forward into growth, not back into safety. That becomes a discipline. It becomes automatic for us to want to do that. And those are the three disciplines of self-mastery. You have structural discipline, reactive discipline, and expansive discipline. And those disciplines go hand in hand with our fundamentals and also with installing and deleting life-changing habits. And so we're moving on to sort of the next part of this, which is behavior change. This next information is a combination from BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits and James Clear's Atomic Habits. I mushed them all together, took the best ideas to try and present this information the best I could so we as a group could install and delete life-changing habits together through this episode or masterclass. And so we have behavior change. Behavior happens when motivation, ability, and prompt converge at the same moment. B equals M-A-P. Behavior happens when motivation and ability and prompt converge at the same moment. You want to understand why we do anything and everything? Well, we need to understand this simple formula of B equals M-A-P. Behavior is a function of our motivation plus our ability plus the prompt. BJ Fogg tells us a behavior happens when three elements of MAP, motivation, ability, and prompt, come together at the same moment. Motivation is your desire to do the behavior. Ability is your capacity to do the behavior, and prompt is your cue to do the behavior. So when we're thinking about behavior change and why we do certain things or why we don't do certain things, we can think about behavior equaling motivation plus ability plus prompt, right? Motivation being your desire, ability being your capacity, and prompt being your cue for the behavior. And then we move into the anatomy of a tiny habit, right? BJ Fogg's book is called Tiny Habits. His main theme, the number one thing that I think about when thinking about habits is making your habits too small to fail. But understanding these underlying ideas behind behavior change and ability and motivation and prompt and anchor and tiny behavior and celebrate, all these things are important and they go together, but really you got to understand that you want to build your habits too small to fail. And we'll keep going back to that point as a way to start that and then build from there as we incrementally get better. That's why at the top we talked about getting 1% better, 1% better, tiny gains, things compound over time. We're not trying to change our whole life in this very moment. We're trying to have a longer term vision of where our life could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line by building it structurally with structural discipline, with the fundamentals, and building our new habits too small to fail. So the anatomy of a tiny habit is one, you have an anchor moment, right? You have an existing routine. Let's say like brushing your teeth potentially, or an event that happens like the phone ringing or text coming in. That anchor moment reminds you to do this new tiny behavior. If this, then what? If I go to the bathroom, if I get a text message, if I have a snack, whatever it is, then I do this. That's what you're attaching the new behavior to. Then number 2 would be, right, the new tiny behavior. A simple version of the new habit you want, such as flossing one tooth or doing 2 push-ups. You do the tiny behavior immediately after the anchor moment. Now look at those examples, right? Those are too small to fail. Not flossing all of my teeth all the time, flossing one tooth or doing 1 or 2 push-ups, making those habits too small to fail. Now, obviously, you want to work up to flossing all of your teeth and you want to work up to exercising daily for 30 minutes, but you have to start with new tiny behaviors. So if this, then what? That's your anchor, right? So your anchor moment. So if I brush my teeth, then I'm going to floss. So we have that anchor moment, we have an if this, then what statement, and then we attach the new tiny behavior to a routine that's already been cemented into your life. And then you make that new behavior too small to fail. I brush my teeth, then I floss one tooth, and then I incrementally increase from there. Now, 6 months down the line, 6 weeks down the line, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Your timeline is for you. Now you're flossing all of your teeth. Now you know that that behavior has been attached. So now you brush and you floss and boom, there you go. So you have this anchor moment. You've installed the new tiny behavior because you did an if this, then what statement, and you made that habit initially too small to fail and had a longer term vision to be able to incrementally build that up. And then 3, probably the most important part of this all is instant celebration. Instant celebration. We have to pat ourselves on the back. We have to say, that's like me. Something you do to create positive emotions, such as saying, I did a good job. You celebrate immediately after doing the new tiny behavior. For me, I like to say, that's like me. I literally pat myself on the back. I do a little fist bump and I say, that's like me, because I'm reinforcing that positive behavior. If we want to continue doing these things that we know, that we 100% know are good for us, then we have to reinforce that behavior with instant celebration and a pat on the back saying, I did a good job. Or like me saying, that's like me. Yes, that's like me to floss after I brush. That's like me to get 30 minutes of exercise in. That's like me to wake up a little bit early and read. That's like me to put my phone away before bed. That's instant celebration. It's not anything bigger than just in the moment, instantly celebrating and recognizing how good you did, the job you did, and positively reinforcing that behavior so we can continue doing that on a consistent basis. So the anatomy of a tiny habit is anchor, behavior, celebration. Make it really easy to win. Make it really easy to win. Anchor that behavior to something that you already do and celebrate those tiny wins. And let me know what happens. Let me know how that works and what it does for you, because it's really worked for me. And there's a lot of science that backs up this anchor behavior celebration model and making it really easy to win, having this longer term vision and understanding that every day is compounding, 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 and compounding and compounding. And your systems are just getting better and better and better and better. And so is your discipline and everything that goes with it. And so with that, according to BJ Fogg, there are 7 steps in the sort of behavior design process. So step 1, you got to clarify the aspiration, aka what do you want to achieve? We talked a lot about this in episode 325, I believe, which is the Masterclass on goal setting. So you should definitely revisit that episode before coming to this episode, because they really mesh together as a masterclass on basically changing your life for the better. And so you have step number 2, you explore behavior options, aka what do you want to achieve? What can you do to achieve that aspiration? Excuse me. And then you have step number 3, match with specific behaviors, aka what specifically can you do? Step 4, start tiny, super freaking tiny. Make your habits too small to fail. Step 5, find a good prompt, connect it to something you already do. Right? Connected to something you already do. We talked about that. Anchor, behavior, celebration. This is just a little more detailed steps about how we can implement it and the questions you might want to ask yourself as you start to have this behavior design process. And then step number 6, celebrate successes. Hack your brain's reward system centers immediately and intensely. That's like me. Good job. Nice work. Here we go. That a boy. Whatever it is. And then step 7 is troubleshoot, iterate, and expand so we can keep getting better +1, +1, +1, +1% each and every day. So those are the 7 steps, right? We want to clarify the aspiration, explore behavior options, match with specific behaviors, start tiny, find a good prompt, celebrate successes, and troubleshoot, iterate, and expand, right? Because we're making expansive discipline a discipline. Reactive discipline, structural discipline, all of these go hand in hand and they stack up against one another and with each other to create the system you need to have these life-changing habits. And then from James Clear, sort of meshing all of these ideas together to really give you the full picture of how to install and delete these life-changing habits, we have the 4 laws of behavior change, and they're driven by these steps below. So law number 1 is make it obvious. James Clear tells us that we can use implementation intention, such as, I will meditate the first thing in the morning in my bedroom. This is also an algorithm. If this, then what? Note, when and where are super important. Be precise and increase the odds of crushing it. You can also make the cue obvious by designing your environment. Perhaps you could put the cushion on the ground that you'll sit on away from your bed, right? So you trip over it when you get out of bed, right? Boom, this is the cushion I'm going to use. I trip over it. There it is. That's obvious. Or if you want to work out, put your gym clothes out in the same spot, etc. So law number 1 is to make it obvious, really, really, really obvious, and use these sort of implementation intentions. I will meditate once I wake up. If I wake up, then I meditate. Once I wake up, I'll brush my teeth, then I'll go to the gym. And make it obvious. Put the cushion outside of your bed. Put the clothes out. All of these things are very helpful because they reduce the friction that's going to impede you from giving up, making excuses. That's when we have to employ our willpower, use our discipline based on our fundamentals and being brilliant at the basics to get this thing done, because we got to get to the starting line and then we move forward. So we're trying to make it as obvious as possible. So the motivation is there. We know why we're doing it, and we're creating this algorithm. So if we do this, then we do this, then we make those habits too small to fail, and then we're able to have momentum moving forward. And then law number 2 is make it attractive. Think about all the research demonstrating the benefits that you want. You can also pair it with something you really enjoy doing, like drinking a cup of tea or coffee after you meditate. Another good way, like join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. So you're making it attractive for you to do this. I love the idea of joining a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior, right? And then think about all of the rewards and benefits you're going to get if you really install this new habit in your life. And then again, have a longer term vision of where you are, who you could be, and what you're truly capable of. So make it really freaking attractive. Law number 3, make it easy. Easiest way to make it easy, downscale your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less, making your habits too small to fail. James Clear and BJ Fogg basically say the same thing when it comes to this. Make it easy. Downscale your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less, because you're making those habits too small to fail. Then we incrementally increase from there as it becomes a habit, as it becomes a discipline, as it becomes part of our structure and part of our system. And then you have law number 4, make it satisfying. Give yourself an immediate reward after doing your new habit. James Clear also tells us to never miss twice. Never miss twice. And he recommends, James does, using a habit tracker, right? Keep track of your habit streak and don't break the chain. Insert your desired behavior. You can definitely use a habit tracker. It's great to mark something off and recognize your progress and see how great you've been doing, and actually view maybe a calendar in a very long-term way. But you want to follow those 4 laws. So you have these intense research-backed ideas from James Clear and from BJ Fogg, and BJ Fogg to help you install and delete these life-changing habits. So you want to follow those 4 laws. And most importantly, right, we talked about deleting habits, and you want to do the opposite stuff if you want to get rid of habits. So let's just do a quick walkthrough. Of bad habits we'd like to break, right? So if we're just doing the opposite of the 4 laws, which are, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. If we want to break bad habits or get rid of bad habits, right? We talked about what's one thing we want to stop doing. Number 1 way to improve our life is to stop doing the things that make us feel like shit. So there are going to be things that we need to break. There are going to be things that we need to delete and get rid of. So that first law is make it invisible, not obvious. How? Remember to buy your willpower at the store. In other words, don't buy junk food and throw away what you have. Make it invisible. Why? Well, when it's obvious in sight, what do? Well, we eat it. All of us do. So you have to make it invisible. Make it really, really, really hard. Like, for example, you don't want to grab your phone immediately after you wake up. Well, don't put your phone in your bedroom by your bedside table, because that's the easiest thing. It's not invisible. It's right in front of you. Why not put it in the kitchen, in a box where it's locked, and you have to get out of bed. You have to go over there. You have to grab the key from a separate room, and then you have to go unlock it. There's a lot of friction there. Rather than, okay, I'm going to stay in bed. I'm going to take a few deep breaths. I'm going to get my feet on the floor. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be grateful that I'm alive and here. And then maybe I'll go grab my phone, because there's a lot of friction there. So the first step is we have to make it invisible. It has to be very, very hard. Make it invisible. Step number 2, make it unattractive. Reframe your mindset. Highlight the benefits of avoiding the bad habits. For example, imagine your energy stabilizing and your health optimizing. It's the same. It's opposite, right? Before we wanted to make it attractive. So we're thinking about all the great benefits that would come from doing this. Now, if you want to get rid of something, make it super freaking unattractive. Get the ick by this habit, right? Understand all of the things that are going to happen in a great way if you avoid this habit. Okay, I know if I do this, I'm gonna feel like this. Great. Make it unattractive as possible. Write those things down. Reframe your mindset. Highlight the benefits of avoiding these bad habits. Third, make it difficult. Make it difficult. I just talked about the phone. Increase the friction. So if it's invisible and it's difficult, you're very less likely to just habitually grab that habit. You're creating new patterns and new algorithms in your life, so you don't just instantly grab the phone or instantly do this. You're making it invisible and you're making it difficult. Increase friction by increasing the number of steps between you and your bad habits. For example, you need to drive to the grocery store to buy junk food because it's not in your house. We bought the willpower at the store. It's invisible. Now you have to get in your car, drive 15 minutes, grab it, go in the store, boom, boom, boom. There's so much friction there. It's much more difficult than just reaching your hand in the pantry and eating the food. So that's third. And then fourth is make it unsatisfying. Keep that reframe from above in mind and make that connection between your spike or your crash in energy levels and that junk food. So we're just combining all of these things to make this habit as unattractive as possible, So if you want to get rid or break a habit, first you want to make it invisible. 2, you want to make it unattractive. 3, you want to make it difficult. And 4, you want to make it unsatisfying. That's what you have to do. And we'll go back to the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. But all of your habits really, really, really boil down to making them too small to fail. Too small to fail. If this, then what? We have all of this great information here, this research-backed science and trusted work from James Clear and BJ Fogg, and I'm laid it out right here. You have to just apply it to your life. Listening to podcasts and reading books about it and doing all of that stuff is great, but it's not doing the work. You have to actually do the thing. Doing the thing is doing the thing. You have to put in the work over time. You have to put in the reps. You have to iterate. You have to review, and then you expand. Then you have that expansive discipline, and now you have structural discipline because this is actually who you are. You've created this new system in your life of the habits you want, right? Because you don't decide your future, your habits decide your future, and you are making a choice on which habits you have in your life. So again, think start, stop, continue. Think about those 4 laws of behavior change, but really it boils down to making our habits too small to fail, having a longer term vision of what we can do over the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, rather than what we can do by next week, having a longer term vision of what we're actually capable of doing and getting dialed in on what we really want and the actual steps it's going to take to get there, and know we have to start at this point. We have to have awareness, acceptance, action. I'm starting here because this is my actual starting point. I'm making my habits too small to fail, and I'm willing to incrementally, the smallest way, just build and build and build from there until all of a sudden, 3-4 years down the line, everything is compounded and aggregated, and I'm at a totally different spot, and I'm a totally different person than I was before because I've blossomed and worked my ass off into becoming the best version of me on the most consistent basis that's in greatest service to the world. So discipline is the root of all good qualities, the driver of daily execution, the core principle that overcomes laziness and lethargy and excuses. Discipline defeats the infinite excuses that say, not today, not now, I need rest, I'll do it tomorrow. Discipline defeats that. What's the hack? How to become stronger, smarter, faster, healthier? How to become better? How do you achieve true freedom? There is only one way, the way of discipline. And thank you very much for tuning in to that episode. I appreciate your time and attention. If you found this valuable at all, please share it with a friend. That's the absolute best way the podcast will grow. And I appreciate you very much. Thank you. Let me know in the comments what you thought, questions, concerns, anything you want me to talk about more, or thing you didn't understand, or whatever it is. I just absolutely would love to hear from you. So cheers. See you next time. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.